A big step for healthcare today as the critical care block at Princess Margaret Hospital was officially commissioned.
Natives of the Malaya at Nassau Beach appealing to the union to return to the negotiating table. That story coming up in the Bahamas tonight.
And the BUT saga continues. The Bahamas tonight, the national report starts now.
Now in HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. This portion of the news brought to you by BTC Every Day.
Months of delay coming to an end today as the new state-of-the-art multi-million-dollar critical care block officially opened. Good evening, everyone. I'm Charisma Robinson.
And I'm Candino Knowles. Well, the commissioning ceremony for the new state-of-the-art facility wrapped up just a short while ago. The block includes a new central sterile department, 20 private intensive care unit rooms, and 18 recovery beds, among other things. That now ushers in a new era in health. Clint?
Candino, Charisma, indeed, it is a new era in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas with the opening of the new Princess Margaret Hospital critical care block coming in just under the tune of $100 million, some $50 million in, of course, construction and just under $40 million in furnishing this new establishment. It is indeed a red letter day for the Bahamian people. Officially opened moments ago by Prime Minister the Right Honorable Perry Christie, of course Governor General Dame Marguerite Pindling, Her Excellency Dame Marguerite Pindling, Leader of the Opposition Dr. Hubert Minnis, former Prime Minister the Right Honorable Hubert Ingram also here, and many dignitaries, Minister of Health Dr. Perry Gomez, all witnessing the unfolding of the commemorative cornerstone and of course cutting the ribbon to open a new care facility of quality in the Bahamas. We can tell you today, Prime Minister Perry Christie, along with those speaking, Chairman of the Public Hospitals Authority, Frank Smith, Managing Director, Herbert Brown, and indeed the Minister of Health, the Honorable Dr. Perry Gomez, all sanctioning today as an historic day, one where healthcare now made affordable to Bahamian people, the best in the region, they describe it. Let's take a listen at the official opening ceremony, highlights from that earlier today.
I cannot help but recall that poignant verse of scripture, "Nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them." And in the context of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, an island nation with the attendant challenges of an island nation, where there is no model in this region and even in this hemisphere by which we can measure and judge ourselves, we must recognize the powerful meaning of being able to think big, plan big, and execute big, and this is evidence of it.
This critical care block provides an opportunity for us to positively impact the length of stay by causing an overall reduction. In the face of this public demand for service, the hospital has had to change and grow over the years.
And of course, indeed, one of the key things standing out from Prime Minister Christie as he addressed those that gathered today was the importance of saying that for too long Bahamians have died either because they were poor and black and didn't have the money they need to afford to get quality health care. He says that this critical care block now affords them the opportunity to live, particularly when they have dire needs of medical and health care. And also, it's a good forerunner to what the government will introduce in 2016, National Health Insurance, to ensure that every Bahamian can afford quality health care regardless of what it costs. And of course, we know that quality health care, a good environment, is a first step to feeling positive about the job. And as you would have seen on your screen, the Prime Minister and his delegation, and Prime Minister and many government officials, former Prime Minister, you can see in the background, all touring the facility today, getting a first-hand tour of what the entire critical care block includes. A number of rooms, neonatal care unit, pediatric unit, intensive care, private rooms, 60 operating theaters. Indeed, a facility many people have described that as worthy of the budget. I'm Clint Watson. Back to you in the studio.
Oh, thanks so much, Clint. Officials of the Melia Resort pushing to avoid strike action. They are now appealing to leaders of the hotel union to return to the negotiation table to settle the dispute over gratuity payments. LaDon Davis has the latest.
Baha Mar Senior Vice President of External Affairs Robert Sands says he is pleased with the court's decision to extend an injunction until February 11th that bars members of the Bahamas Hotel Catering and Allied Workers Union from taking industrial action. He says the union should now consider heading back to the negotiating table.
That a strike is not in the best interest of anyone. Our employees, their families, the union, and the country. We appeal to union leadership to come back to the negotiating table, to find a workable solution that will allow us to pay our employees their gratuities and allow Melia and our staff to move forward in growing our business.
Sands says the company has worked for nearly a year to solve the situation and sought to negotiate in good faith with the union. He later encouraged union members to educate themselves about the all-inclusive gratuities agreement.
We have been setting aside all gratuities for employees in an escrow account. And I want to make it clear that this started from the 24th of December. So they've been paid all gratuities, even at an inflated rate, up until the 24th of December. In an escrow account to be paid out immediately upon resolution of this dispute. We encourage all Melia employees to get the facts for themselves about how the all-inclusive gratuities plan would benefit them.
As it stands now, the gratuity rate is at 15%, and Sands says there are no winners in this dispute if it continues without coming to an amicable agreement. He explained the new European and all-inclusive system.
We'll still have persons on the European plan who will get their full gratuity at 15%, and they're currently receiving that, and they have been receiving that to date. Persons who participate under the all-inclusive plan will get the gratuity once we agree it. But the third element is, even in this whole environment, we're still allowing social gratuities.
Meanwhile, Sands says those 8 employees that were terminated several weeks ago had absolutely nothing to do with the gratuities dispute with the union.
And during their probationary period, they did not meet the standards, and therefore under the law we had a right to separate those persons who did not satisfy the key elements of the probation period.
Last week, the hotel union was successful in obtaining a strike vote against Melia Resort. We were unable to obtain a response from union officials regarding this latest court development and the appeal made by union officials. Now, Melia officials say they are ready and willing to resolve this issue effective immediately. LaDon Davis, ZNS Network News.
Well, Secretary General of the Bahamas Union of Teachers, John Musgrove, is adamant that BUT's President Belinda Wilson will remain on suspension until the annual general meeting in June. Members of the Appeals Committee, however, are accusing Musgrove and other executives of acting illegally and not in line with the union's constitution. Meanwhile, Ms. Wilson says she's considering her options. Carla Palmer reports about the ongoing dispute.
I'm really hoping also that we do not have to take the legal route, that we'll be able to deal with the matter internally.
President of the Bahamas Union of Teachers, Belinda Wilson, may in fact just have to resort to taking legal action in order to return to a post as BUT's president with all rights and privileges in spite of the union's appeals committee ruling in her favor to lift her suspension. BUT's Secretary General John Musgrove says he's not accepting the decision of the Appeals Committee.
First of all, the process with the Appeals Committee, the findings should have been delivered to the Secretary General. The Secretary General should have then informed the President, the aggrieved parties in writing of the decision. That decision was taken from the Secretary General's office, and the Appeals Committee firstly overstepped their bounds by delivering their decision to the aggrieved parties. So it is from then is unconstitutional.
To me, it's a bunch of rubbish because we did everything within the confines of the Constitution.
The persons were compromised. The persons who were elected came to the meeting with the intent, and they stated their intent on the record in a minute of the meeting that they were there just to overturn our decision.
I was duly elected by the members. I was given a portfolio by the Secretary General along with the 2 other persons who were members of that committee. I did not take a portfolio off anybody's table.
The Constitution states that the appeal decision is final, and it can only be overturned by the AGM.
There's nothing in our Constitution that says that the Executive Committee must listen to anybody else other than the AGM. The Appeals Committee is just a small faction, and the Appeals Committee did not come from the 4 districts.
What is interesting in all of this is that the very people who are accusing and saying that what the Appeals Committee did is not going to be recognized were called before. They were given written invitations to appear before the Appeals Committee, and they refused to come.
The Executive Committee, in between AGMs, rules the Bahamas Union of Teachers, not Belinda Wilson, not any Appeals Committee. This Executive Committee, we have 11 persons who are resolved and enforcing the suspension.
Musgrove says the union's vice president, Zane Lightburn, will remain acting president of the union. Carla Palmer, ZNS Network News.
Another F&M senator steps down from her post in the upper chamber. Find out why.
Captain Moxie searched and ransacked. Hear why coming up in the Bahamas tonight.
This segment of the news is brought to you by Shell Quality Fuels.